Getting a business translation that's fit for purpose should be easy, right? Well, not always. That's because there are several different types of translation available to business clients with big differences in the translation quality, cost, and timeframes involved. To get what's right for your project and not pay more than you need to choose the right type. This video gives you the essential information to do just that. Hi, I'm Dennis Brown, and our company has been providing translation and interpreting services to clients across many business sectors for over 20 years. In this video, I'm going to quickly explain the 4 types of translation most commonly used in business, the pros and cons of each, and what types of project they are best suited to. First up, we have machine translation, or MT. This is a translation produced entirely by a computer program with no human linguistic input. You simply type or paste in the text you want translated, select the languages, and voila. Google Translate is the classic example. Now, the obvious advantages of machine translation are that it is virtually instant and free. What's not to like about that? Well, the problem is that the quality of the translations produced is very patchy. You're likely to get some sections that are excellent, but other wording that's unclear or even incoherent, and crucially, some parts that are just plain wrong. That makes it of limited use in business, as it's not suitable for any text where accuracy and clear understanding is needed. If a mistake or poor wording could have repercussions or damage your company image or reputation, you can't rely on machine translation. Machine translation is best used just to get a broad understanding of what a text is about and the gist of the meaning. Our second method starts with a machine translation and then adds a human translator review. We call this review post-editing, and the type of translation, post-editing machine translation. The idea is for the translator to fix at least some of the problems with machine translation and so create a more usable text. However, post-editing can involve different steps and levels of complexity and have different objectives and outcomes in mind. So it's essential that client and editor are on the same page as to what the editing process will and will not involve, and most importantly, the level of translation quality the process is expected to achieve. In my view, the most useful and probably the most common post-editing process is simply to ensure all the text can be understood without worrying about quality of expression. The editor will fix grammatical errors and tidy up any unclear or confusing wording and obvious mistranslations, but won't touch wording that's a bit awkward or unnatural but still understandable. This light post-editing process generates translations that are more accurate and more readily understandable than straight machine translations. However, they have 2 remaining shortcomings. Firstly, they can still contain actual translation errors. This is caused by the machine choosing the wrong meaning of a word, which is a common problem with machine translation, and this not being obvious to the editor, not being corrected. And secondly, the wording won't be completely natural, as the editor hasn't been tasked with making the text read beautifully. We consider this type of translation as being suitable for information purposes only, and it can be an excellent option when that's all that is required. Providing the initial machine translation is reasonably good, which largely depends on the languages involved, these translations can be faster and cheaper to produce than using human translators. Now, in theory, an editor could spend more time using a more thorough process and create a high-quality translation from the machine translation draft. But in practice, this is problematic, for reasons I won't go into here but explain in some detail in my blog article. Suffice it to say that this type of translation process is not well suited to producing high-quality translations. Whenever you need to be sure a translation is accurate, well-worded and natural sounding, you're much better off using a human translator, which is our third type of translation. Producing this level of quality is not possible with straight machine translation and is a complex, difficult and lengthy task with post-editing machine translation. But it is precisely what professional human translators do all day, every day, and with relative ease. As always though, you need to use the right translator. Translation is a difficult skill, and remarkably few people are able to do it well. We have articles discussing the skill set required and the translation process that needs to be followed, but essentially you need an experienced, professionally qualified translator with a good track record of quality work, or a translation company that employs such translators. Anything less and you're simply gambling on quality. With the right translator, you can expect a completely accurate translation with excellent quality of expression that will be of publishable standard. And you'll get that with no time or cost disadvantage over the machine translation plus post-editing method, and with noticeably superior wording. However, it does need to be recognised that, like everyone, human translators do sometimes make mistakes. So without a second translator review of the translation, which is our final method, there will always be a risk of inadvertent inaccuracy or omission, which is why we recommend translations by a single professional translator for non-critical business documents. The fourth translation type, human translation plus revision, produces the highest level of translation quality and is recognised as best practice. It meets the requirements of EN 15038, the quality standard for translation service providers. The method comprises an initial translation by a human translator, followed by a full review of that translation by a second translator. This review is designed to pick up any accidental errors made by the initial translator, confirm the translation is 100% accurate, and polish the final text. So it's part safety check and part refinement of wording. This type of translation will be appropriate for all purposes and is particularly recommended for essential documents and whenever accuracy and quality of expression can't be compromised. Being the highest quality level, this is the most expensive method of the four and requires the longest turnaround time. So those are the four types. In comparing them for translation quality, we've seen how machine translation produces low quality, that this can be improved with human post-editing, but is surpassed by human translation, and the highest level comes from human translation plus revision. As you'd expect, this increase in translation quality comes with corresponding increases in turnaround time and cost. The four methods each have their merits and are essentially suited to different requirements. So we recommend selecting the type of translation to use based on the level of translation quality you need and the purpose of the translation. Here are 4 rules of thumb we suggest you use. 1. For simply getting the gist of a text, free machine translation is ideal. 2. For information purposes only translations, where some less than perfect wording and the risk of the odd mistranslation can be tolerated, machine translation plus light editing is excellent. 3. If you need to be sure the translation is accurate and well worded, human translators should be used. And 4. For essential business documents, and to cover off the possibility of inadvertent translator error and ensure the highest standard of expression, choose human translation plus revision. Check out our longer blog article for further detail and for a great summary infographic you can download and use for reference. And we have several other articles of practical use to business clients. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel and have a look at our other videos. Thanks for watching.